welcome to another Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is Season 8, Episode 2.
Or Episode 168 if you're counting.
Thank you, as always, to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this and all kinds of other stuff I do possible. I want to thank you guys for being here now, because I know next week we are delaying the show by a day. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware, we haven't actually fully discussed that.
Well, either way, we know that we're not going to be on next week.
We're not going to be on next Thursday.
Next Thursday for sure. Since, well, Power Rangers is kind of a big deal right now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff happening with that, and that movie will come out in a week.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people getting very excited.
I don't know if I can say I'm excited. I'm in anticipation. I'm definitely am in anticipation.
What I will say is that, much the same as what we were saying when the second trailer, really the real trailer, came out, it seems that now with the commercials they're showing, I just can't help but think, why didn't you guys show this stuff sooner?
Right.
It would have helped a lot. And now I'm having to eat my frustration with these Power Ranger gummies. They're like $1.
Part of it is disappearing for some reason, even though there's not a lot of green on it. It's picking up yellow a little bit.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, mind you, I'm just a sucker for gummy snacks. That's my drug of choice. So this happened to be there. They were on sale. Doesn't mean I like it.
Kind of wish they were Gushers, though. I'm not gonna lie. I wish they were Gushers.
Those would be good.
Yeah.
See, if they had thought of that back in the day, because right now, and we'll talk about this a little later, they're up to Zeo in the Twitch stream. If they had done Zeo Crystal themed Gushers,
that would have been smart at the time. That would have been
smart at the time, yeah. But they just missed out on such easy licensing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Was it last week that we saw Kong?
This weekend, yes.
This past weekend?
Which is in our follow-ups.
So that's a thing that we did, and it was fun.
Yes.
So that's...
got to take my dad out there. Thankfully, my dad... I share my nerdiness with him. He's the nerdy one out of my parents. He likes watching action movies and sci-fi movies. So he tells me in his very thick accent, I want to go see Kong. And I'm like, okay, all right, no problem, Dad. And he just sits there, silently watches it. And I ask him, Dad, did you like it? It was good. And then that's about it.
Well, when he says it was good,
that means a lot, because
right?
he's a man of few words unless he starts ranting, and then it's really funny. But it's mostly nonsense to anybody who's not family.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
Yes. But we've got that. It's a busy month for movies. We've been saying that.
Yeah.
Because I know I want to go see Beauty and the Beast this weekend. Of course, next weekend is Power Rangers. After that, of course, Ghost in the Shell. It's just, I can't remember a more packed March. And it's better this month compared to last year in March when we had to deal with not quite Justice League.
That's true. But that was pretty much the only thing, and it wasn't much to anticipate. Granted, there's questionable anticipation for both Power Rangers and for Ghost in the Shell, so...
Well, we're going to talk about those in the follow-ups. It's a follow-up heavy episode, so you guys be on the lookout for that. Otherwise... You've still been trudging through Breath of the Wild.
I have been. I've got to have done like 40 hours, and I feel like, again, like I've only accomplished so much. I've only gotten one of the great legendary beasts, whatever, one out of the 4 of them that you're supposed to get, and it was the bird one. And
you're having a hard time there.
I'm not very good at puzzles, guys. I'm really kind of not. I'm not good at very many games that aren't strictly traditional JRPGs, but I like games regardless, so I play them, and I get through them even though I'm not good at them, and I still, even though it sounds like I'm frustrated, I do have a good time, because to me... being frustrated is part of the experience and part of the challenge.
See, for a second there, I thought you were going to say being frustrated is fun. It is not fun to watch you be frustrated when you're there with a puzzle.
I didn't say it was fun for you to watch. I'm not talking about you, Josh.
Oh, excuse me.
You're not the one playing, Josh.
I know, if someone would put it down.
What are you talking about? Like, I'm off of it for hours at a time, and you're just sitting there staring at Twitch all day with Power Rangers.
Yeah, but I like Power Rangers.
Well, then don't complain that I'm playing Breath of the Wild when I play it.
I will complain as much as I want to, because I want to play it too at some point.
Well, then do it.
I can't. We're doing the show.
Okay. Is there anything else going on before we move on to our major stories? Yes?
No, I think we're good.
Okay,
Pretty
awesome.
good.
Then let's go ahead and list off what we will be talking about here a little bit later on in the show. One of the first stories we're going to be discussing is this interesting venture between Harmonix and Hasbro, a property called Dropmix that combines card games with rhythm games, which I just thought was a really fascinating combination, and they just dropped a whole bunch of information. We're going to talk about that.
Yes, our second story for the evening is something a lot of people are very unhappy about because we figure, why? So there's news out of Warner Brothers that they're looking into plans to reboot the Matrix trilogy.
Now, granted, reboot doesn't necessarily mean remake, so we need to discuss what these possibilities could possibly be.
That really depends on where they're going with that. There's a couple of options.
Definitely. And so, third and finally, what could both be really cool and kind of disappointing is Capcom is re-releasing the Disney Afternoon packs of games that they released back on NES properties way back in the day. So we're talking
back in the early 90s.
Darkwing Duck,
DuckTales,
Tailspin, and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Interestingly enough, not coming to a Nintendo console, despite the fact that they were originally released on Nintendo consoles back in the day. But there's some interesting ways that they are packaging it here. I believe it's in April, so we'll be discussing how they are packaging it and whether or not it's going to be worth your purchase.
Yes.
But I'm sure, as always, you've got plenty of follow-ups. You were just saying that this is really follow-up heavy.
It's kind of follow-up heavy. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and get started with it. Full-blown Justice League. Let's get it up there. Okay, so
I don't know why you do this.
I'm going to start with the positive Justice League-ish related news, and then it's all downhill from there. I just want to say that up front. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with the most positive member of the Justice League so far, God willing, Wonder Woman. So we got a new poster for Wonder Woman, as well as a new trailer just this past week, showcasing more of the story there. Of course, revolving around Diana of Themyscira coming into our world, the world of man, during the height of World War I, and turning the tide for justice. We're starting to get a little bit more information about the villains in the movie, specifically the God of War, Ares, who she will be fighting at some point. We haven't seen an actual picture of Ares there in footage, but there are at least toy leaks out there of what Ares is going to look like. For the most part, everybody's just got their fingers crossed. Please be the good one. Yeah. Please be the good one. I'm one of those people.
There's very few parts of what I've seen that have really kind of bothered me to any extent. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, hoping that this one is not the bad one out of the bunch that lead up to or are around the release of Justice League.
Right, exactly, because we'll be getting her in just a few months, and then Justice League in November. Okay, so let's move on to the other, notably, arguably, the biggest member of the Justice League, Batman. Of course, we have his solo movie that we've been anticipating for a while now, The Batman, which is to be directed by Matt Reeves. That apparently has been pushed back.
What?
Yes, the release date has been pushed back for a legitimate reason. Matt Reeves is working on post-production stuff as well as prep for the press tour for War of the Planet of the Apes, which he's already got coming out.
I mean, that's cool, but still kind of lame.
It's kind of lame, and it also means that they have a reason to push it back. Now, anytime any movie gets pushed back more than once, really the first time's not a good sign, but once you hit like 2 or 3 times, then you know something's wrong. Now, the other thing that adds on to that is that Ben Affleck just got done with a stint in rehab.
What kind of rehab?
For, knocking a few too many back. So that was also
You mean
part
Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least for alcoholism, yes. So at least he's out, so that's good.
All right. Well, he's working on it. I don't want to villainize him if he's trying to get help. That's not the point.
It's just at this point, people want something to believe in at this point. Another bit of casting, more information about the story, just something. Because again, same deal. We want to believe in the Batman as opposed to not quite Justice League from last year.
But is it possible for us to separate the character Batman from Ben Affleck?
It is absolutely possible, but the problem is they're both having problems.
Okay.
So that's kind of the thing.
All right.
So there's that. Let's move on to another member of the Justice League, Aquaman. Aquaman's movie has been pushed back.
Yeah, they've got problems now.
Yes, so that was announced earlier today from DC. The date that they had been moved back by 2 months. So that means there's a date open, which actually takes us into our Marvel news.
Okay.
That movie spot was taken by Marvel Studios' new Venom property. So there's no word yet on what exactly this Venom property is going to be, whether or not it is directly tied to Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it would be stupid if they didn't do that.
But Aquaman is moved to December now? Is that correct?
From what I understand, yes. So Venom is moved into that spot. Again, we're still waiting for more information on that. Granted, Spider-Man has just been introduced to this universe and they're having to grow it. It would be hard to tell.
Venom's not their animated property that they're planning on releasing.
No. Marvel has a separate animated Spider-Man movie that they're working on.
And their Spider-Man
Which they haven't confirmed Venom's in that either.
Right.
Venom is
but
its own thing.
But they're saying that one's going to be theatrically released, right?
It is going to be.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, we're looking at a Venom movie. No word yet on how separated it is.
Right.
So we've got that. Also, a friendly reminder, probably should have talked about it at the top of the show, but we'll go into it now. It's Marvel Netflix Eve right now, because tomorrow we get our first look at Iron Fist, the new series there from Marvel Studios there, and Netflix. Of course, this tying into the Defenders, which we're going to be getting later in the year. A couple of things being said by star Finn Jones in defense of the show. A lot of them very cringeworthy. I've chosen not to believe it.
Okay.
For the time being, I will make my own opinion known next week after I've watched the series.
So you're gonna be, are you gonna be binging this weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, normally we have a game night tomorrow, so that's gonna make it a little, I'm gonna have to binge more quicker.
Wait, now you have to be even more better.
Yes, now I have to be even more better. So yes, there's that.
So it's all gonna be shoved into Saturday.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah. Because normally I spread it out nice and even across Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, don't want to do too much at once. You know, because in most cases I want to savor the series. But in this case, I don't have a choice. It's like, next episode. Netflix, stop checking up on me.
Exactly.
So that's how we're going to be doing that this weekend. Okay, in other Marvel news, Guardians of the Galaxy. So James Gunn has confirmed there will be a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. After they're done with
there would be.
Yes.
You already knew. You don't even have to see the second one. You know that. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's just that they're working on the story right now. What story they're going to tell after the events of Infinity War, where the Guardians will be teaming up with the Avengers. Also, in relation to Infinity War, which ties into that, Infinity War has hired on motion capture actor. I want to make sure I get his name right here. Oh, darn, my computer froze. Terry Notary. Okay, so there's a reason I bring that up to tie into our next thing, because that's the funny thing about tonight. All of our follow-ups are tied together. So Terry Notary is going to be playing a member of Thanos' minions. No word on who yet. We're going to get more on that as filming progresses. But that ties into our next story, which of course we were talking about at the top of the show, Kong Skull Island.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who didn't know, Terry Notary was the motion capture artist for Kong.
And I think that's really important to note these days as motion capture becomes more and more prominent throughout film and video game development. I think it's super important to recognize these motion capture artists.
Absolutely. So it's worth noting that his performance there has helped garner a winning weekend there for Kong with, let me see how much they made here. It was quite a bit. 142 million worldwide gross. At least over 61 million here in America.
That's pretty
good. So they won the
good.
weekend. As far as
everybody loves monster movies.
Everybody loves monster movies. We'll talk about it briefly for a second. We're not here to review it.
Yeah.
You guys can ask us about that in the post show. But as far as the movie goes, it was very well put together.
Yeah, like, we're not, clearly it's a monster movie, this is not Shakespeare, but I think it's interesting how you'll move from wartime sort of movie kind of editing, and then once you actually get to the monster stuff, it moves into monster movie kind of editing, which I think is fine given what film it is.
Yes.
And it was a fun ride. Is it flawed? Yeah, it's a monster movie. It's not gonna be perfect.
I argue
but it's not when I say flawed, I mean the same kind of flaw as, you'll go to some hoity-toity place like, I know the Gap isn't really hoity-toity, but, they think they are, and you go in there, and they've got the discount rack, and you're like, oh, why is this discounted? It seems perfectly fine. And they're like, oh, it's because this thread is sewn a little bit off to the side, and otherwise it's a perfect shirt.
Uh-huh.
That's what I mean by it's flawed. Like, it's got something that if, like, you squinted, then you might have a problem with it.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, like, this guy, and he's going, bruh, and he's going, bruh, and he's going, bruh, and that's the movie.
That's the movie, yes. And of course, it's worth noting, if you didn't know already, there's a post-credit scene. You're probably going to want to watch it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to a little bit of Disney news here. So Big Hero 6, the series, is coming out later this year from Disney. They already got greenlit for his second season.
It must have been good then.
It must have been
Executives,
good.
it must have really tested
well. That's my thought. Yeah, I figure something that popular, that did as well at the box office as it did for the movie, you'd figure a lot of people would buy into it, but I still think it's a little weird when you're greenlighting something for a second season when the first season hasn't even aired yet.
Tested well. Disney knows. They know
I should hope they know
everything.
They think they know.
They think they know everything.
Okay.
Watch the second season gets canceled midway, though.
That'd be funny.
It'd be funny, but also kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so moving on to some anime adaptation news. So, like we said at the top of the show, we're 2 weeks out from Ghost in the Shell airing in theaters across the nation.
Can you call that airing?
Well, I guess premiering.
Yeah.
Premiering.
Okay.
Okay, so there was this little vignette that they put out, a little behind-the-scenes featurette of Scarlett Johansson talking about Section 9. Of course, that's the anti-terrorist group that the Major heads there in the story. And I thought it was worth noting, people have been very concerned about this movie, about this adaptation, about how things were coming across here.
Well, I just know that Major's name is not Kusanagi, and
I'll have to see that in
that
theaters.
is what I have heard in any case.
I have heard similar things. I will have to confirm that once I see it. One thing that does worry me is there in the featurette, she refers to one of her co-workers there in Section 9. Now, she refers to Aramaki just fine. She can pronounce Aramaki. But then, of course, there's the character of Bato. She does not pronounce his name Bato.
But that's his. We know that's his name.
We know that's his name. We've been hearing it for over
like
20 years.
Well, no. I mean, like in the film, we know his name is Bato. Like
yes,
spelled
out.
Batou.
Right. But she pronounces it Bat-ew.
Bat.
Ew. Ew. Bat-ew.
That is an entirely different kind of pronunciation problem than I thought you would have.
Yeah.
Like, my thought would be like.
Or
No. Closer to the way people mispronounce Hadouken?
Batu?
Yeah, I thought it would be more like Batu if
she's saying it ew.
Oh, no.
I can only hope that was an error for the featurette, but even then, you guys should have stopped that, and that doesn't make me feel better about the movie.
No, they would not have continued on editing it if that was not what they were going with it.
Yeah,
for this film.
I'm worried. I'm legit worried now.
Okay.
We've crossed the line here.
Yeah, can we move on,
Let's move on to some positive news, some game news.
Okay.
Let's talk about games. Okay, so first and foremost, Overwatch. So we talked last week about the new character, Orisa. Again, we're going to confirm that next Tuesday, that is when she drops into the game. There are also rumors right now from Jep Kaplan over there at Blizzard that we're going to be getting some new skins, some legendary skins for both McCree and Widowmaker. About friggin' time.
Have they not had legendary skins yet?
They haven't had any good legendary skins in a while because everything they've gotten so far has been, less than $1,000. And, from $1,000 and up, as far as the gold...
You mean to purchase in-game?
Yes, the currency in-game, 1,000 gold. That level and up is considered legendary. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a good legendary skin, or rather a new legendary skin, in some time. So a lot of people think this is overdue and are looking forward to whatever these designs are since they haven't revealed them yet.
Right, of course.
So we're looking forward to that. Okay, over in a little bit of Final Fantasy news. So you were looking at this new trailer from some DLC for the game.
For Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, so this is Gladio's specific story, which, thank God, this stuff is finally coming. So this is coming out on March 28th. Gladio specifically is going off that, actually not on his own, he's going off with the character Core to go and fight the really well known within Final Fantasy lore character Gilgamesh. They're even playing an adaptation of Gilgamesh's traditional theme. So that made me happy to hear. My hope is that this helps fill in story stuff that should have been there in the friggin' first place. Perhaps in that section where Gladio says, hey, I need to leave for a while, then he leaves for an entire chapter, and when he comes back, he doesn't tell you what he was doing. My hope is that it's that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. Like, isn't this what this is?
I'm pretty sure
this is
that's
filling
what
in the
this
gap
is.
for where he went. He went to go fight Gilgamesh.
I hope that that's what it is, and that this fills in, you should have seen the other guy. Maybe he really wrecks Gilgamesh. I don't know. We're gonna find out, I guess.
Yes.
On the 28th.
And
Yay.
it is free DLC?
I believe so, although I saw a tag for the Season Pass. I really hope it's not part of the Season Pass deal, because that means spending money, and I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't buy more Final Fantasy 15. That makes no sense to me.
Alright. Okay, so let's move on to some other news with Monster Hunter. So, Monster Hunter Double Cross is coming out soon in Japan. No word for a stateside release just yet. However, they've already announced several crossover features there in the game. Now, Monster Hunter does have this from time to time. They have a little bit of items and things from other games. I think previously we've had... you could get Strider Hiryu's costume from one of the cats in there.
Yeah,
Mario,
cool.
Link. Well, upcoming here for this this game for Monster Hunter, you can have costumes from Ace Attorney.
Oh, that's fun.
As well as
that's
the
Capcom game.
And the Tokusatsu series Garo. You can wear a Makai Knight's golden armor in the game to take down a giant monster.
And they're getting around.
Yeah, I want it so bad.
Their cross-promotion is insane right now.
The cross-promotion game is strong.
Yeah, yeah.
So as soon as that becomes available, you better believe I'm going to get on that because I love Garo. I love it so much.
And Monster Hunter's pretty alright, too.
And yeah, it's one of my favorite franchises, so yeah, absolutely I would get that. Okay, so let's move on to some other news here. Of course, we were talking about the Power Ranger reboot. Just today, over on Twitter, there was an announcement of a contest for people to tweet at the official Power Rangers Twitter to see if you could win an advanced screening for your hometown. Now, there were only a certain number of cities listed. So far, nobody's been notified as of yet.
It sounds like they're running that contest until midnight tomorrow.
Yes. So if you have the chance, you'll have to go to the official Power Rangers Twitter, take a look at their list, and tweet the certain color of a Ranger and the town that it falls under. For us in particular, it was Pink Ranger San Antonio.
Yeah.
So
you'll have to go to their Twitter account and specifically see, well, okay, which of these cities is mine under.
Yes.
So it gets really specific, but there was also an email listing that you could have signed up for as well in order to
yes,
apply
a lot
to
of
these
different
contests.
places are now putting out those tickets. But at this point, it's a week out, so I'm wondering, like, what's a day?
Like the advanced screenings on what, Wednesday?
I think, and everybody gets to see it Thursday.
Yeah.
So like, what big like when we got to see Civil War, that was a month out.
Yeah.
And so
way
that
early,
was
way
totally worth it. Like, yeah, we absolutely got down on that. But here, when it's like a day, it's like we kind of already bought our tickets.
Exactly.
So like, what's the point? But you know, if you want, you can go ahead and go over there and see about signing up. Now, on the past end of things, I don't want to round out the follow-ups here without talking, of course, about the Power Rangers Twitch stream, which is going on right now.
Yeah, you could stop watching us, I guess, but I'd rather you didn't.
Yeah, we'd rather you didn't.
Because you could watch those episodes on Netflix at any moment in time.
Yes, everything that they're showing is on Netflix at your leisure. So right now they're up to Power Rangers Zeo. It's just funny and actually very heartwarming for me watching all these people. You know, I think last night when I was watching around like 9, it was like 65,000 people plus.
Yeah, it was pretty good attendance.
Yes.
And the interaction is really perhaps the best part of it if
Yes.
you've already seen all these seasons anyway. So watching as putties come on screen and people type
Yes, BL.
and or if the stream cuts off, people start getting really upset. They blame Billy for not being able to fix anything.
They blame the Green Ranger, they blame Rita. A lot of that going on.
It's actually a really harmless interaction.
Yeah, because nobody's being mean-spirited about it. Everybody's having a pretty good time, giving funny commentary, things like that. Every episode ends, people type in "good game."
Now, granted, you can't have a conversation with anybody over
No, it's going too fast.
It's impossible.
It's blinking, you miss a commentary.
That's kind of not the point, though,
No.
I feel like. Now, granted, occasionally, I've been hosting the Twitch stream of Power Rangers on my Twitch channel. So, like, take for example, if you have your own Twitch channel and you decided you wanted to host Twitch Presents, then you could have your own kind of private, your own
viewing party.
Group viewing party to have your own conversations in there. That might be your going style if you so choose. But otherwise, just go to Twitch Presents. It's a good time regardless.
Yes. It's funny to watch. It's very nostalgic to relive all of these old episodes, watching some characters get less hair, some characters get more hair, some characters get more storyline, others get completely screwed over, but it's memories. So yes, please wait until after the show to go watch that. It's going to be going until the movie starts.
Through past the movie.
Yes, because they're airing everything.
Yeah.
Everything from Mighty Morphin up till, I believe, Dino Charge.
Oh, well,
so,
that's a long time. There's no way they're going to finish it before Thursday, so that's just not happening.
Yeah, so if you want, get in on it. It's fun.
It's fun.
And that's all our follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get started with our first story.
Yeah, so our first story is Dropmix?
Yes.
This is Dropmix, yeah.
Kingdom Hearts, Dream Drop, Final Mix.
Stop that. Stop that immediately. Okay, so I want you guys to look at what's going on here. It's kind of difficult to see, and it's difficult to understand without the audio, which I could totally turn on, but I think we'd be kind of blasted out.
Yeah.
So you're seeing like 4 different colored things going on here, and people are playing down cards, and this is a venture, like I said at the top of the show, between Harmonix and Hasbro. Which I thought was really interesting that they partnered up at all. You're looking at Dropmix. It's a card music game, which it runs off of an app for either iOS or Android.
It's an app and an electronic pad that you have for the cards, which is battery operated. Now, the best way I can think to describe this is quite literally, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Meets DJ Hero.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a little, like, I feel as though the rules to this card game are probably a little relaxed from Magic and then even from Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not quite as advanced.
Well, by
as
that
Magic,
I mean the visual of, the electronic mat and the lights and sounds.
Well, yeah, when you're talking about it, like you could almost pick this mat up and then put it on your arm and then you're going, now granted, both first and second player. And sometimes, apparently, there's a 4-player mode, like 2 versus 2.
Yeah.
You're all having to use the same one mat, apparently. And this is, granted, it's a little bit expensive, but most Harmonix games are. Let's take, for example, DJ Hero. You're talking, you've got to get your turntable and a copy of the game, and that's just to play one player. So this is like $100 to get this mat.
That's kind of pricey.
To get this mat and to get the starting cards. Now realize, these cards have an IF. The mat has an IF reader, and so there must be an IF chip in these cards. They're currently what they were showing off yesterday on Harmonix's Twitch stream were basically demo cards that were mostly, but not completely, complete. They're still
prototypes.
They're still prototypes.
They're testing them out, seeing how they're going to modify them further. But from what I understand, the first wave of cards will have 300 different cards split amongst these 5 different categories for the different colors. Now, the way this game works is that each different color represents a different part of a song. One of it's the drum loop, the harmony, the backing track, the bass line, things like that, and wild cards as well. So the way this works is that you and another player have this pad, and one person puts down a card, and let's say it's a drum loop, from Another One Bites the Dust from Queen, and then you play down another card, 2 cards per turn, and then it's a completely different song. It's Living on a Prayer. You get the guitar riff from Living on a Prayer, and then the other person goes and they put down the vocals from Call Me Maybe. Or they put down another card, and it's the scratching track from Run DMC. It'll go back and forth like that, and the idea is to have your cards, your song, basically drown out your opponent.
Right, you're overwriting and pushing out your opponent's cards, and you're live mixing music right there. And what's really interesting, that I just thought it was kind of fascinating, that if a song is in a major key, take for example, they were using there in their live stream Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. I know that's kind of a really poppy example, but that's a very happy, kind of upbeat sort of song in a major key. But if you're playing the guitar riff of something that's in a minor key, take for example, Down with the Sickness
by Disturbed,
it transitions Carly Rae Jepsen's vocals into a minor key
without sounding terrible,
and also mixes their BPM, it matches BPM to one another.
So that's actually the very interesting thing about this. It's meant as a one-on-one game, or as you said, two-on-two. But the interesting implications of this game is that there's quite the large possibility that people will just start picking this up to become your own DJ. Because the way the game works, as they demonstrated there in the Twitch stream, is that every time you put down a card, the transition is so seamless and so well integrated that it sounds like a live mix from a professional DJ, and they've built it into the cards and into the app to where all of these changes happen naturally.
Well, they were saying where did they say they were? South by Southwest?
Yes.
Is what I want to say they were saying during the stream. They had it set up at a restaurant that they went to nearby because they had it just out and available for demo play out at South by Southwest. And they walk into some place and they're thinking, oh, this place has got a good DJ. And then they didn't realize that was their game that was being played, and somebody made a really good mix with this card game. And it does apparently take a bit of thought, because you can't play this particular card without already having, gotten up to level 2, level 3.
Right, that's the other thing.
You have to keep building on top of it to make the song better and better and better until you get up to... They were going up to 15 points, but they were also saying they were playing with only, half a deck of cards.
Right,
so
normally it's
21. Or 30, 21, they say.
So the way that works is that each of the cards that you have in your hand have a level 1 through 3. The higher a card, the easier it is to drown out a card beneath it. So if you've got level 1 Carly Rae Jepsen, you can knock that out with level 2 Linkin Park, as an example.
That sounds really ridiculous, but...
But the game makes it sound natural.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, what is nice to see is that you can save your mix and play it back after the fact. So if you liked what you put down, you get to listen to it and share it with other people.
So you poke your mobile device that it's connected to, your iPad or your Android, whatever you have, poke save, and it saves that mix. So the game comes bundled with the pad that you're laying the cards down on, comes bundled with 60 cards. All the rest of the 300 cards, they'll all come out before the end of the year. And what was interesting is that you're going to be able to get already pre-structured packs that already contain a certain genre of music, or you get what's essentially random packs, but they're only so random. You will get one of each. There's only 5 in these packs. You'll get one of each of those colors. Right. So the vocals, the bass, the drums, and the guitar riff, and the
wild cards.
The wild cards. And what they were saying was that you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money because these are relatively expensive cards because they have RF chips inside of them.
Right.
You don't want to spend a whole bunch of money getting really random bundles and you don't know whether or not you're going to get duplicates. So they were saying they don't have an image of the package right now, but they were describing the package of this card having some sort of a window of some variety.
Where you could see what songs are there in the pack. So say you've already got something from Childish Gambino, you can take a look at the pack like, oh, it's already got that in there, I don't need to buy that pack.
Yeah.
And you can more wisely choose how you're going to structure your deck to play against another opponent's song choice.
But I see this, like, some people really poured a whole bunch of money into getting DLC for different rhythm games that came out over the last 2 console generations. I would definitely see myself putting a lot of money into collecting all of these samples of these different musical tracks.
Now, see, the thing about this is that this takes a game tournament to another level, because I do very much enjoy music. I'm not as big of a rhythm gamer as you are, but this would be something to see as far as a tournament goes. If somebody's facing off, a full 300 deck versus a full 300 deck, okay, who's got a better mix?
But still, it's going to be card gamers that dominate the tournaments, not music.
But the thing about it is you have to be
gamers.
somewhat musically minded to figure out what blends better. Now, there is a scoring system.
But not in a tournament, because a tournament requires winning points, not actually being a good musician.
But see, that's 2 different ways of looking at it, because you could win on terms of points, but the crowd can say you lost because your mix sucked.
That's not typically how tournaments go, unless you're specifically running a freestyle tournament.
Well,
Those would be completely different rules, but that's definitely something to be argued. You would need 2 completely different kind of tournaments. But typically, in a rhythm game tournament, the point is to win via points.
Right. Now, we've got a question here in the chat. So what if I wanted to take the riff from Learn to Fly, the vocals of Princess of the Universe, and the beat from Billie Jean? You can do that.
You can do that so long as they actually release those cards, but yes.
But they are talking about expanding the decks out, of course, with all of these different artists from all of these different genres. So the potential for that is there.
Yeah.
They've already got a partial list of the different artists that they're going to be displaying here in the game. Just a couple off the top, like we mentioned, Earth, Wind & Fire, Disturbed, Fall Out Boy, Flow Rider,
Afrojack,
Weezer, Poison, Run DMC, Jackson 5, like, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it is. It's all over the place. I really liked watching during that stream that if you put down a card that you legally cannot play, it tells you, nope, you can't do that. So, as most online or computer-based card games do, but I just like that you're not going to be getting into fights with your other player over the rules of, nuh-uh, you can't play that. Yeah, I can totally play that, because the game is going to tell you if you can't play it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for that. I'm wondering, there were 2 other modes that they specifically said, these are padlocked right now. They had them locked off, and they were not prepared to show them off just yet. And so we're wondering what that is. They had a question come in during their ending Q&A time that said, hey, what about online play? And they said, well, we've got some other stuff locked right now, and we don't want to talk about it just yet.
Sounds like they're thinking about it.
They do sound like they want to implement it, but they might not have it fully developed just yet. But that would be definitely something that I would want to do, is play online play with other people.
Yeah, and we've got another question there. Would it be possible to upload these remixes to YouTube? Probably.
Yeah, they did say that you can save them and save them as video format files.
Right.
So long as you're not going to get in trouble with the copyright holders of those songs. Now, perhaps Harmonix has worked something out with the copyright holders of said music.
Right.
Maybe. I know Twitch has less of a problem with that than YouTube does, but it does let you save physical video files of them. It definitely does. They did confirm that.
So this is potentially something that could take off.
It could be. I mean, Harmonix is typically pretty successful with their rhythm games. Now, granted, they were part of the contributing factor between them and Activision that initially nearly killed the rhythm gaming industry back 5 or more years ago. But now could be the time for the upswing in rhythm games again.
Well, especially now when they're bringing in this new element of card games to it.
I think it's just weird enough that it might work to get 2 completely different kind of gamers in on the same thing. And then also just people who enjoy music, because I just see people just slapping down cards just to hear stuff.
Now, the thing that I wonder about, because everything's mixed so well timed out, you can't quickly switch between song parts. They've kind of got a pre-selected path that the song will take there in the pad.
It's quickly enough. It registers it pretty instantaneously, but it's not going to do it in the middle of like a 4-beat measure.
Right.
It'll do it at the start of a new 4-beat measure.
So we're looking forward to seeing how this turns out. I would definitely like to see an expanded card list. Like I said, I really like different genres of music, so I would be wanting to mix all of these different things together that I hear in my head. If you can give me a game that will allow me to get the sound in my head out for other people to hear, then yeah, I might be willing to put down the money for it.
And apparently they're proud of their artwork that they put on the cards themselves, and I know we could barely see the art on those cards, and then the only other mentionable thing is that they themselves composed some of what you hear in these effects cards that you also get to lay down. There's also a button at the end of the 5-card pad that occasionally you'll have to press for some reason. I can't remember what the name of that button is called. It says Dropmix, just the name of the game, on the end of it, and you press that button to make certain effects happen in the middle of battle. So that'll just make the game really interesting and kind of crazy, and cards will disappear off the battlefield and they can't be used for a certain amount of time or something. So it's gonna get wild, and your ears are gonna hear things that you maybe do or don't like.
It's about to get wild.
Please don't do that. Alright, I guess we should wrap this one up for now. I could totally keep talking about this because I think this is really, really interesting, but we shouldn't.
Yes, let's go ahead and move on to our second story for the evening.
It's the Matrix.
It's the Matrix.
So I'm trying not to be all doom and gloom about this. So like we said at the top of the show, Matrix is getting rebooted. Now that doesn't necessarily mean a remake, but it also doesn't necessarily mean not a remake.
Right, because we'll go ahead and put this in context. Now we're telling you guys about the story under the assumption that everybody has probably at least seen the first Matrix movie by this point. I mean, it's been a minute.
It's like 20 years.
Thereabouts. Well, no, not quite. I think it's been 18 years.
Okay.
So it's getting up there. It can vote. So the thing about it is, The Matrix, of course, made by the Wachowskis back in '99, blew everybody's minds. Of course, they borrowed heavily from Ghost in the Shell to make the movie, but of course, it was a box office smash. It was a cultural phenomenon. People, everywhere start wearing all black and sunglasses and go,
even
whoa.
Japan saw it, and they were like, "We need to reference this in everything we've got."
Yes.
Everybody needs bullet time now. That's what came out of it.
And the first one is a really good movie, solid movie, and then 2 other things happened.
But then also the Animatrix came out of it, which I thought was
the Animatrix
amazing.
was the better parts of whatever came after the original movie.
Yeah.
And then of course there was
that online thing for a while.
That didn't work out.
Yeah, they were the Wachowskis were convinced, right? They
Yeah.
were convinced that no, this is where the story goes. This is legit.
This is canon.
This is canon. This is official, and it's gonna continue on for like years here. You are going to have to get the rest of the story through this online. No, it died.
It died.
It died real
hard.
super hard.
Now, of course, the story there is, Neo, he wakes up one day from this machine realizing the machines have taken over the world, and it's up to him as the one to free everyone from the confines of the robot rule and help bring everybody back to awakeness from the robot. It's really kind of boring when you talk about it that way, but the thing about it is...
Yeah, maybe don't talk about it that way.
Okay, let's not talk about it that way. Point being, there's something to be said about the difference here, reboot, remake. Because in the context of the story of I guess it's the second movie where they talk about it, when Neo talks to the architect, they explain that in the context of the story, Neo's not the first Neo. He's like, I think they say he's like the 8th one?
I can't recall the specific number.
I know
sure
somebody's gonna
know. Somebody's gonna know, and then we'll get schooled. And thank you in advance.
Yeah, thank you in advance. So the idea is here. There's the potential, since at the end of the 3rd movie they kind of just reset things. There's not really a happy ending per se. Which take that however you want. The movie's been out forever, and we've been arguing it since then. How to take the ending. Point being, there's the very strong possibility that this new installment of the Matrix could just be part of that structure that they've already put in place, that this is just a different one in the Matrix system.
Or it could be a completely different story featuring Neo. Or it could be a story out of the Animatrix that they decide to bring to the silver screen. It could be literally any combination of these things. Or it could outright be a remake. But that's not the terminology they're using. They're using reboot. And reboot is like reintroducing this property to the public consciousness. I'm wondering if they're making that decision because they're seeing, oh, well, they're finally releasing that movie that they originally based this movie off of, so that means it's perfect time to reintroduce the Matrix now. You know,
now,
Ghost in the Shell being a thing now.
Now, the thing about it is, like a lot of people are bringing up here in the chat, it was worth noting that back in the day, the part of Neo was offered to Will Smith, and he turned it down.
Right.
Which he, depending on the interview, he either regrets incredibly or decides, no, it was better that it wasn't me.
Well, I'm sure that's him at two different points in his time giving those
different answers. Now, I think what would be interesting, just kind of as a way of bringing things back together, is if you were to offer him the part of a Morpheus-like character.
The circle of crap is complete.
The circle of crap is complete. Thank you for remembering. If you were to offer him a role like, say, Morpheus, because, you know, he's not as young as he once was, but can still fairly hold his own in a movie, in an action movie.
Right.
I think he would take the chance. He could use another hit that wasn't Suicide Squad.
Yeah, granted, Suicide Squad is not the hit that we asked for, but it became a hit regardless, somehow.
Monetarily.
Monetarily, and now you can say that it won, it's an award-winning...
It's an Academy Award-winning movie.
Oh my god.
Oh god, I gotta get a taste out of my mouth.
Let's keep talking about the Matrix, so you want to get that taste out of your mouth?
Yeah, alright, so looking into it, at the time, you know, the Matrix was revolutionary for a lot of things, you know, visually, storytelling-wise, of course, much parodied, much copied, but at this point in movie making, just in general, you know, we've been 18 years removed from the movie.
Right.
A lot of the things that the Matrix did that were revolutionary back in the day are passé now.
Of course.
So if you're going to retell this story or reboot this story, how are you going to do it in a way that's fresh and will have people interested to watch it and not be like, man, I saw this on TNT the other day. I don't need to watch it again.
Or do you choose to so stringently stick to the kind of cinematography that was present within the first, maybe through the first 3 films, because I do have to confess, Neo's fight with all the 80 bajillion multiple Agent Smiths was, granted, that scene has aged really badly now,
as most things have.
But at the time we were like, this is friggin' Dragon Ball Z. What is
No, Dragon Ball Z was the 3rd movie, alright?
That's what I'm saying. The 80 bajillion.
No, the 80 bajillion of him, that was
that was the second.
The second movie. You know, where he's twirling around on the pipe.
Yeah.
No, the 3rd movie, that's straight up Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
No,
so there are visually things that absolutely does not mean that the narrative was good by any means.
Now,
but visually, if you were just to take it and be like, I have no idea what's going on, but stuff's happening everywhere. This is really cool.
But see, that's the thing about it too. Again, talking about the difference in time period from then till now, they could get away with copying almost directly from Ghost in the Shell back then. They could get away a little bit with copying from Dragon Ball Z, but even then, it was starting to get into the public consciousness. Not nearly as much as it is now, where it's airing on 2 wide networks, and we've got Ghost in the Shell coming out now. If you're going to make those references, you're not going to get away with it, because people have the internet now. And this movie was about, you know, jacking in and getting as much information as you can. We have information at our fingertips now. How are you going to get away with it? How are you going to bring it to modern audiences?
See, though, you want to talk about a modern computer story and a modern internet, them computers gonna lie. They're gonna lie to you and tell you, like, you can have the internet in the Matrix. That's not a problem. The computers just won't tell you about what's not in the Matrix.
See, that's a different way of looking at it. If you can add a different slant on it to make the story fresh, then fine, you know, we'll go ahead and get into that. Much the same, like we're talking about different stories that can be told in the world of it. I think we both saw this movie where somebody cut parts of the second and third movie to cut out Neo, Trinity, and their story completely, and Agent Smith, and it's just the people on the ships, like the Nebuchadnezzar and whatnot. And it's just a story about them. When they cut it together to just show those parts, that was a pretty engaging story. So they could tell that.
They could.
You know, something where it's not in the Matrix system.
Right.
And that could be a pretty entertaining movie. You know, very visceral, very action-packed.
Do we get to see the robot uprising?
It could be a prequel.
Yeah.
Granted, it was only vaguely mentioned there in the Animatrix what it was like when the...
It's not that vague. I think it's actually pretty friggin' straightforward.
Well, yeah, it's straightforward, but they tell it in the course of, like, what, 2-3 minutes?
It's very quick, but it's not vague.
Very quick.
It could be very well elaborated
That's
upon.
what I meant. That's what I wanted to say. So you could tell that story. But for the most part, people are just kind of knee-jerk reactioning. I don't want it. We don't need it. They can go away.
If it is a remake, I agree with them. I don't want it and I don't need it. If it's just additional story to the franchise, then I'm willing to wait and see what it is they want to do with it. Otherwise, I'm cautious.
Yes.
But with so many things we talk about, I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. I don't know how cautiously optimistic I can be, but keep in mind, they said reboot, not remake. Hope that they are not mixing up those two words.
Because last time that happened, we got RoboCop.
Oh my god.
And that wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't.
It was terrible.
But I want to talk about things that maybe are not nearly as scary.
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
This is scary territory. It doesn't have to be, but it is scary territory. So we will talk about something slightly less scary, and then can I make it play? Is it possible I can make it play back?
Can you make it play back?
There, I made it play back. All right. I have it set to loop, but okay, whatever. If it stops again, I'll replay it.
So Disney Afternoon.
Collection.
Hell yes.
So
hell yes.
The good news is that it's coming, and the bad news is that it's not coming to a Nintendo console.
So what the hell is that? All right, because yes, like you brought up at the beginning of the show, these different games, which of course came out for the Nintendo Entertainment System back in the heyday, back when the Disney Afternoon was ruled by every kid. You know, every kid wanted to be home in time for Disney Afternoon stuff. I know both of us here, Darkwing was our favorite of the Disney Afternoon, of course.
Absolutely. 100% to this very day is my absolute favorite.
And of course, there were all of these wonderful Nintendo games that came out.
And they're all, made by Capcom. Granted, I think my personal favorite Capcom-made Nintendo game is not on here, but that's because it wasn't Disney Afternoon. But Aladdin...
Eventually it was.
Well, this specifically is the film.
Specifically
Aladdin for Super Nintendo was, again, made by Capcom, but granted, I felt like that was a pretty simple Capcom game. Capcom and their platformers typically are like, their difficulty skyrockets.
Right.
Now, I would not say that the games like DuckTales or even Darkwing Duck are especially difficult Capcom platformers, but they're more difficult than Aladdin.
Parts of DuckTales.
Parts of DuckTales. They're more difficult than Aladdin, less difficult than Mega Man.
Yeah.
So,
that's
but
about right.
They're genuinely fun. But as you can see from this trailer, you can play them pretty classically.
Yes.
Which is the good part of it. What additionally makes it better for you, like if you already have all of these games and you think, well, I'm just satisfied playing them on my NES to begin with. Why would I want to purchase these? Well, for one, it's all upscaled to 1080p. Which is really good. Like, now we finally have a 1080p TV. I mean, one day we'll go up to 4K and then we'll have a new problem. But we finally got up to 1080,
guys. But we really need these 16-bit graphics on a 1080 TV.
Yeah, clearly. So it's not in 4:3 definition anymore, so it's filling up this entire picture. And then you've got new boss rush and time attack modes. There's a rewind feature. It helps players perform these challenges that they might have missed.
I think that's cheap.
I do think that's kind of cheap. I don't think I would end up using that.
Yeah, because back in our day, we didn't have those features.
No,
we just had to learn to get good.
But what I think is really cool is the in-game museum, which you'll see.
That is really awesome.
You see it in this trailer. That you see some classic artwork and stuff
this
pop up.
production art specifically for Darkwing there, which looks amazing.
Yeah,
you know?
it really does. I think that's possibly.
That's a good selling point.
That is my biggest selling point in this package. It's actually a really perfectly decent price, too, for $20 for all these games.
And you're getting, what, 5 games? 6 games.
Is it 6?
It's 6.
Yeah, it's 6 games. So you have your options of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or PC. So again, it's not coming to a Nintendo console, either Wii U or Switch, which
I'm like, why?
Which is disappointing, but you know, I have 2 out of 3 of these things that I could be playing it on, so I shouldn't complain that much. Coming out very, very soon, in fact, April 18th, just a month away.
Yeah, a month out from today. So, the thing about it is, one, there's the kind of weirdness that comes inherently with that. This was originally out, or these games were originally out on the Nintendo. Why wouldn't you bring it to the Switch?
That's
seems like
true.
a really no-duh decision.
It does feel like, man, when the Switch just came out, you would think you would want a bigger library for your Switch console. We currently only have 1 game for our Switch and have downloaded a couple of demos, but regardless, we have access to a PC and to a PlayStation 4. We have plenty of options to play these games on, and they're fantastic pieces of my personal memories. Granted, I think I spent more time in the Game Boy version of DuckTales, which was essentially the exact same game, except it was in black and white, or really kind of that off-green kind of coloring, but it's basically the same game. So actually, that would be a selling point for me because I didn't spend a lot of time in DuckTales in color, personally speaking.
Now, see, the bigger thing here is, like, I get DuckTales because, you know, DuckTales, as far as the NES version, is a beloved game, even more beloved in terms of the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
for the
these soundtracks, they
so
sound
the
great.
other thing that sticks out to me is the fact that both Capcom and Disney remembered the Disney afternoon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're still calling it the Disney afternoon. I love that even this trailer is showing off all these 90s colors and stylings in the background that you would always see like during commercial breaks and stuff.
Right,
and the bumpers for the Disney afternoon. The fact that they're even calling it the Disney Afternoon Collection at all, I think is fantastic, which kind of ties into, you know, we're getting that new DuckTales cartoon.
Yes.
I'm so hoping more stuff, more branding out of the Disney afternoon. Not just these games, and not just that cartoon, but maybe other cartoons and future games can be
Because really,
made
yes,
out
I'm
of
happy
these
for the game.
properties.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna let you finish, but...
No, that was all I wanted to say.
Oh, cool, so I can... Alright, so I'm happy for these games coming out, absolutely. You know, I'd love to get back and try and play Chip and Dale and Darkwing again, but really the bigger picture for me is, if this is good marketing and people see that they're, specifically the people at Disney and Capcom, that there's still this desire for people to go out and buy this collection, maybe over at Disney, since they've already rebooted DuckTales. Can you give us Darkwing? Can you give us Tailspin back? Like, if you do it like what
Please
you're doing now...
Darkwing first.
Darkwing first, of course.
Please Darkwing first.
Because at this point, you know, people miss them.
Yeah,
people still
for
very
sure.
dearly love these series. You know, we got people here in the chat asking, where are the DVDs? We had them. They're out of print.
And sometimes they didn't even finish printing the DVDs.
Yeah, which is kind of
sometimes they get like 2/3 of the way through and then stop printing DVDs and did not release the entirety of the shows and not all the episodes. I think that was true of Darkwing Duck as well as Tailspin, I think. I'm not too certain. I know they did release Tailspin on DVD.
Yes, they did.
But I think it was one of those situations where they didn't release the whole thing.
Now, refresh my memory, and you guys in the chat help me out real quick. As far as the Disney Afternoon goes, they're missing a game. I don't believe it was Capcom though that made it. It was Gargoyles.
Yeah, I do not believe that was Capcom. I'm tempted to go and hit Google right now for Gargoyles.
Because I played that one.
Gargoyles.
I think that was on Genesis, I think it was. And then Goof Troop was on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, Gargoyles was on Genesis, that's Sega, of course, Sega Genesis. I think it was even made by Sega.
Okay, so well, there you go.
So, yeah, these are things that were also getting a little too old, and again, you can't go to Capcom for them, so,
I'm just saying you could fill out those game titles a little bit more.
You could, but I would still argue that these 6 games are pretty good for $20. That's pretty reasonable, if you ask me.
But if we're talking Disney, I want more.
I'm done now.
Okay, all right.
I could totally go on and on about these games,
Yes.
and I think we should here in our post show if you guys want to keep talking about the Disney afternoon, because I could talk about that forever, and that rhythm card game that drop. What did I say? Drop mix.
Egg drop soup.
Sure, egg drop soup. So thank you as always to all of you for coming out here this evening. So if you're live with us right now, come join us for an additional half an hour where we're gonna do Q&A with you guys. If you're not here with us live, I wish you would be. We're not gonna be live next Thursday. We need to talk about when we're coming back next week or the week after. But other than that, you can always come back on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central we're in 2 locations now, youtube.com/marsgirl/live or twitch.tv/marsgirl.
Yes, and of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st.
And I'm at MarsGirl.
That having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll tell you guys when we're coming back some other time.
Later on social media. And
all
now,
right.
Thank you, Danny. You are supporting us with this commercial advertisement. See you guys here after the break.
Take it away, Danny.
Danny is a young sci-fi writer living in the UK. Everything was going great until one day he was captured by a beautiful woman, terrifyingly hot. Her name is Morphine, and she'll make you scream. Get ready for your adrenaline shot, 'cause she locked him up in the